All right. I always feel really important getting a thumbs up to go live on the air. It makes me wish I'd been a news anchor. Well, good afternoon and welcome to our final Comm Week 2021 session. It's really been a fun 3 days. I hope I've seen a lot of you here several times. I hope you've gotten a chance to enjoy it. There's been great stuff every time. So thank you again for being here. Let me just give some quick shout outs. I want to thank the Shocker Ad Lab crew, Madeline and her class. They did all the design, all the t-shirts, all the promotional materials. They look fantastic. Our broadcast crew, our tireless broadcast crew, Jessica Newman and her students have done an amazing job of making all this go online and dealing with all sorts of technical challenges. So thank you, and thank you to my colleagues on the faculty that have helped put things together. So hope it's been a great week for you, and I think we've got a great session to close. My name is Eric Wilson. I'm one of the faculty members, and I'm really excited to get to host our session that is titled, There is No Substitute for Experience. And these are folks who have done and are doing internships, in many cases multiple internships, and they're going to talk about their career journeys. So as the session description says, I won't read the whole thing to you, but if the Elliott School had a mantra, it would be get an internship. Because that's, I mean, if you've taken any classes from us at all, you probably are tired of us saying this, but I think these folks really embody that, and we'll kind of share some of their journeys. I've got a series of questions, but we certainly want to make sure there's time for questions from the crowd. These lovely microphones will pick up questions, so we'll make sure we have time for that. So I'm just going to introduce our panelists really briefly. I'll start here closest to me, and we'll move to the other side. So this is Ellie Nightingale. Ellie is an event coordinator for the United States Modified Touring Series, which is a racing nationwide racing series, and she'll tell you more about it. And one of the cool things about Ellie is she has been passionate about cars as long as I've known her, and it's been really, really fun. I get made fun of for my passion for airplanes. Ellie has been the car person as long as I've been acquainted with her, so it's been really cool to watch her get to move up and work in that experience. Next to Ellie is Payton Dill. Payton is an intern currently at KeyCentrics, which is a pharmaceutical technology company. And she can explain it a lot better than I can. They do more than that. But and she recently moved into that from a different internship at KPTS, the local PBS affiliate, so she can talk a little bit about that. Next to Payton is Jacob Workentine. Jacob is an intern with the LAS Dean's office, and he probably should be moderating this panel as well as listening to that deep radio voice you had as we were doing the sound check. So nice job. And then last but certainly not least, on the other end there is Tessa Karbowski. Tessa is a writing and video intern for the Office of Strategic Communications, located over here in Morrison Hall. Those are the folks that do all the marketing, PR, publicity for the university and for its various entities. So they've got a large team, basically an in-house communication shop. They have a long-standing and popular internship program. And in addition to that, Tessa also does a bunch of freelance video and film work. So try to have a pretty good sampling of a lot of our different emphasis areas and majors here. So hopefully you can learn and glean from all of this. So I'm just going to start out with a question, probably a fairly obvious one, and you can answer in whatever order you want. How did you get your current internship?
Do we have the same answer?
Peyton and I have pretty much the same answer. So
okay.
From Eric's class, and it was just IMC. Is that the class?
I think I just took like 5 of Eric's classes.
Yeah, one of your classes we took together, we had to do an assignment where we had to reach out to someone and we were interested in our field. And I reached out to the broadcasting company that broadcasts the series I work for. And then a year later, my name was mentioned, and here I am. So I think Peyton has a similar answer as well.
Yeah, I just was in a lot of Eric's classes, and through him talking to other people, I had both of my opportunities from him, like giving them the word about me. So that was super awesome. But mine's just simply Eric. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Jessica is my answer. I've taken, I think, 3 classes with her, and so I just kept asking, like, do we have any internships? And she was like, yes. So I finally got one. It's not
Great.
I looked on Handshake a little bit, and there was some buzz about the Stratcom program, so I was like, I better hop on that, so that's how I got it.
Handshake is another fantastic place to look for an internship, and I won't put words in my colleagues' mouths, but nothing makes me personally happier than helping students find internships, and I know many of us in the room feel the same way. So network, make those connections. We absolutely love helping people get their foot in the door and grow in their career. Fantastic. So tell us what the onboarding process was like in your internship. Maybe there was one, maybe there was not one, but what was it like coming on board? How did they bring you on, make you feel part of the team, help you learn your role? And then also in that, were you assigned or do you have a mentor within your internship? So whoever wants to take that one can go for it.
Well, as for mentors, my mentor, I would say, is my boss. Her name's Lainey, and she has been fabulous, like the best boss ever. So I've been really lucky. And they didn't just throw me into it. They gave me some practice work beforehand to kind of get me used to it, filled me in on a lot of the different procedures. So that was really helpful.
Lainey, by the way, Elliott School alum. Shout out to Lainey, Missoula Hart.
My mentor has been Cheryl Miller, who is my boss, and the onboarding process, she gave me a lot of research opportunities, and so I understood a fair amount, a lot better from that. And she said, okay, now give us some projects. What do you have in mind? And I was like, oh, okay. So I got to look through other social media sites, what other colleges were doing. I'm like, okay, we could do this. And I got to pitch everything. And she really helped me along and guided me through that for how to properly do that in this career field.
I think for me, both my mentors have been both my bosses at PBS and KeyCentrics. Something really awesome about both of them is we had, at both my internships, we've had weekly meetings at the end of the week where they both just kind of gave me an hour to talk to them and ask questions. Like we did our meeting early this week, it was yesterday, and I was just asking all about Google Analytics, and we just went through and kind of were nerding out together about it. So that's really awesome. I think as it goes to like other people, I kind of forced myself to become friends with my coworkers. So I know for me, I'm not great at design, so I always friend the graphic designer. I'm always like, hey, and then I just ask them questions or ask if they ever like need any help with projects. So I've gotten a lot of experience and gotten to challenge myself when it comes to that by befriending someone and then making them my friend, forcing them to be my friend and give me projects to do. So
my onboarding process was actually really weird. We had a Zoom call last January. Well, before that, the main owner of the company called me and just gave me a description of what I would do. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he said, okay, we'll have a Zoom call. Like, let's meet the team, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And then we had a Zoom call and he just said, you want to do it? And I was like, sure. Because I couldn't say no. I just couldn't believe the series was thinking about me of all people. So I said yes, and we started from there. And then the season began about a month later. So yeah.
Awesome. Very good. I think that onboarding factor is big, and that's something that I've seen change a lot in the 10 or 15 years that I've been helping students with this. Is, a lot of times it was just, well, here's your first day, get started. And I think the cultures and a lot of these organizations have really changed to like, okay, we really need a mentoring, more of a process. I think especially with COVID and a lot of working remotely sometimes and different staffing in the office, that's super important, even if it has to be virtual, like in your case, Ellie, getting to know who people are and helping you really be set up for success. All right, great job so far. So tell us about 2 or 3 new skills that you have learned in your internship. 2 or 3 skills that you've picked up along the way.
Definitely how to deal with people. Like not to like just totally like for sure. I've traveled the country this year. I've been to 5 new states, and learning about different people is a really great experience. But also, I'm not really a patient person. And so I've learned how to become really, really patient and just with everything I do. And, it's just so cool to meet new people and just, yeah, I would say that's one big thing.
I think a big one for me is like understanding brand tone, because I've had 2 very different brand tones. I did social media for both my internships. So kind of having to change your mind to be a different person in order to write copy. Also not being afraid to ask questions, because I feel like before internships, I was like, I should just know these things. But now I feel a lot more comfortable like going to someone and be like, hey, I'm kind of confused, or like, is this what you mean by that? Which helps a lot.
The biggest one is also with people working with clients and actually designing a campaign. I've only done solo projects until this point, and so I didn't have to send a bunch of emails, so I had to get over email anxiety, like 18 different people for a project, and I was like, oh, this could take a week, and now it's taking months, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to understand and get some real-world experience with that for really developing a project fully and then refining it through people and understanding how to communicate with them and their various styles, which has been very fun to figure out how to convey a message to a bunch of different people and how that process can help me further on the campaign that I'm developing too.
I think the biggest thing for me is, so we have to have a certain amount of stories out, and in order to do so, you have to throw a lot of things out into the wind, and not all of it's going to be caught. Not everybody's going to answer. Most people don't. I mean, you usually send out 30 emails to different people to get, a story on, and maybe only 2 people will respond. So it's just been really good for me to have the confidence to just throw things out to the wind.
Another thing I will say that I thought of is just because it's something you love, and it's for me, it's something all I've ever known, just that's not gonna make it easy. I've definitely went through some moments I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But it's also really fun to be on the other side of things. Say it's you love football and you start working for a team. It's so cool to see the behind the scenes stuff that you won't see behind a TV screen. And it takes so much more work than you think it does. Just a single race day for us is just, I can't even explain it. So just because it's not to discourage anyone, of course, but just because it's something that you love doesn't make it easy, but it makes that love greater, if that makes sense.
That's great advice, Ellie. Thank you. So this is a question that I did not give you all in advance, but you kind of have hinted at it. How do you get people to get you the information that you need? Tessa, you mentioned you kind of throwing a lot of things out, you don't hear back. How do you get people to do what you need them to do, get you the information you need, follow up? What have you learned about that?
I think it's kind of useful to have it be sort of a give and take, because, when I'm doing graduate stories with people, the benefit for Stratcom is that we're, sharing about the students in our community and all that stuff. But the benefit for them is they have a story published about them on the school's website. So when they go to get their next job or something when they graduate, it's good for them to say, oh my gosh, I have a story published about me on my school's website. So that's usually how I phrase it. I'm it can be good on your resume and it can be good for us as a school.
I specifically with getting the information, it's using different avenues. That's what I've done. Thankfully, WSU, I work exclusively here, so it's very physical for me. I can just be I'll walk down to that department. And I'm taking advantage of that while I can, because I know it won't last forever, especially if you're contacting people over Wichita or over the nation. So either that or just using emails or using the network around them that you have connections to. Say, hey, can you contact this person? And not being afraid to do that too, which is getting over social anxiety and just being hey, it's okay to ask questions and ask for things from people. They'll do it sometimes.
Yeah, I think for me, if I am working with a graphic designer or someone I need information from, having an actual genuine relationship with them rather than just constantly asking for help, or asking for something. So making sure that when I see them, I'm having good conversations and not just constantly emailing them I need this, and then helping them all out as well, returning the favor.
Yeah, I would say with emailing someone, especially if you're an intern or you're brand new, I used to be so scared in the beginning. So I'm 22 and they would always, and usually the people that work with me are 35 and older, and they would just kind of make fun of me oh, you're the younger person, you don't know what's going on, but don't act that way. I mean, they didn't treat me like that, I shouldn't say that, but they would just kind of tease me how young I was. So don't feel that way. Just present yourself as one of them, because it's very easy to succumb to that. So just email them or contact them as you would any other adult, and just act like you're one of them and don't become discouraged, because I know it can be really easy to be oh no, I don't know what this means, but it's okay. Nothing's a dumb question, so you can always ask.
That's great.
I think, sorry, I just want to add something. I think it's also important to know what you're asking for and have a little bit of knowledge on that. For example, I know I need a little bit of background about graphic design to know that what I'm asking for isn't insane, or going to take them way too much time, or I'm giving them too small of a time period. So kind of knowing what you're asking for, so you're not overwhelming anyone or making them feel oh, they think I just have the time to do this.
That's great. I'm going to shift gears a little bit to kind of how you got into the position, the process. We'll talk a little bit about resumes, and then we'll move it and open up some questions. So it seems with COVID, especially the last couple of years, it can take longer to get a job. And sometimes, as candidates, you may even be a little more cautious or be okay waiting a little bit longer. So was that your experience? Did it take longer to get the position? And kind of how have you approached new opportunities differently right now in this season?
I think, I don't know. I'm probably not the best one to answer this question because I often feel like it's kind of luck with me sometimes. But I know for me, COVID wasn't a huge factor because my first internship was with PBS, and they obviously TV didn't stop. So they were still constantly, filming. It was definitely weird. The process was different, like Zoom interviews, and just in general, it was kind of intimidating. But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not the best one to answer this one.
Yeah, I'm not either. I would say I'm the same. Yeah, I didn't really.
You can go.
Okay. Over the summer, so I could not find a job. It was not happening. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make work for myself. And one day I got really, really bored, and I decided to just apply to the most randomest of things. And those things do pan out. It's just a matter of filling out 50 applications, and then the one that you do get, it'll work.
I also had a similar thing where it's very seasonal with internships. You have to be aware of when they happen and occur. So during the summer, it was in the middle of the summer, I was like, oh, I should apply for an internship. And I was like, oh, that's in a few months. So I can't really rely on that for financial stability right now. So during that time, I was like, okay, well, what can I do to build up my portfolio? What are some new projects or new things that I can try out? So I tried some senior photography then. I tried some more design and learning some more things and really using that time to develop or make myself more wantable and more desirable for those future prospects that could come later on.
That's great advice. Great advice. One thing that I will say is it has, at least from the employer side, it seems like sometimes they are taking longer, and sometimes they want one tomorrow. I know with Payton's position, she wants someone tomorrow, and I'm like, it's the first week of classes. I can't get you someone tomorrow. And literally that was the word. And I'm like, you give me about a week, I can probably, let students get settled in. But because an employer may take a little longer to get back to you, don't be discouraged by that. It's just processes, as Jacob said, it's kind of seasonal, speed up, slow down. We have a ton of internships. It's been pretty quiet, at least from what I've seen for the last few weeks, but there's a ton of spring and summer internships that are coming in right now. So it's a great time to be looking. And Jessica just kindly reminded me, we have a new jobs page on the Elliott School site, and it's Elliott. Thank you. I forgot the URL. wichita.edu/ESC jobs. So we're trying to put everything we get in one place, kind of as a clearinghouse. So check that out. Add that to your bookmark. I see people have their phones out. Pull that up. It's wichita.edu/ESC jobs. And then I'll also make a plug for Handshake, as Tessa mentioned. They always have jobs and internships on Handshake, and that's through the Shocker Career Accelerator. So those are two places that I would hit frequently if I were searching. So great. So what resume advice do you have for students? What's been helpful on your resume? What do you wish you had done differently? What would you share with folks that are in the job market?
I definitely critique mine for each job I'm applying for. So kind of what skills I will need for that. I will change it every time I interview. My resume has never looked the same. Also, having multiple friends edit, I will literally send my resume to 4 different people just to look at it to make sure that it looks right, and then I'll probably change it again after. So definitely taking the time to really edit and, critique your resume to the job you're applying for.
I would say the same thing. I used Handshake. One of the people on there actually reviewed my thing, and they were like, okay, here's what you can add to it. Here's what you should probably take away from this, and here's what you can work on. So after that, I got a few other avenues. Canva is a great program. They have a resume template on there. That'll kind of help you out. It gives you stuff to work with. And if you don't have a lot of work experience that's related in the field, still include what you do have, because you can say that these skills are applicable in other areas too. So you do have to focus on whatever job you're doing and then change your resume. Work with what you have too, and then modify it as it goes
on. My advice is have a cover letter for everything you apply for. And I know that sounds dumb because it's that's a lot of work. But if you have a cover letter, it just creates a personal connection. It adds a little touch to things. And, I always add something in there what do you value about their company? Show them that you're interested in them. Even just the smallest things that you've seen. Like for my strategic communications job, I was like, I really like Shocker Blast. During the pandemic, it helped me like find things to do when I felt like there was nothing to do. But also another thing is, if you have a portfolio, send them your portfolio. If you don't have one, make one. If you're into video work, make a reel. So that's that.
How have you used your non-internship, non-communication, retail jobs or service or other service industry, even campus involvement? How have you used that other experience on your resume to help you get jobs? Or have you?
I am in leadership in my sorority, and I really milk that whenever I'm
Me too.
in interviews. And I honestly prepare for that too. Like, I think of interview questions and how I can relate them back to my leadership in my student organizations. So that's definitely something I do for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's really great to put on your resume, like I'm in Kappa Gamma. And so I would put that on my resume, but someone, like an employer will see that, like say you put your organization, they'll be like, okay, you put like what you did, like what leadership positions you had. Is there a special event that you coordinated? Things like that. So they know exactly what you did, because putting a title on there is cool, but telling them what you did and all the positions you had is much more important.
Also, this might sound weird, but I found a TikTok that talked all about buzzwords when it comes to like positions like in leadership and for resumes, and that helped me so much. I saved them and I still go back to them to look for that. So if you look for if you search resume on TikTok, it really does help.
So how some applications work now is they have like an algorithm that already gives the people that are looking for candidates like the top picks or whatever, right? And so if you have those keywords in there, like it helps, you know?
Yeah. And I know this is obvious too, but like grammar, spelling, punctuation, it's just, you won't believe how many people will immediately toss out like your resume if you spell like the first word wrong. So just making sure it's all perfect. And like Payton said, just having people like edit it, because I was told a story that someone got like, I don't know, something crazy number, like 1,000 resumes, and they threw out like 900 of them. So because of spelling errors. Yeah. So just make sure everything's perfect.
Absolutely. And again, I won't put words in my colleagues' mouths, but most of us are happy to look over resumes for you. I've done that a couple times this week. So please reach out to any of us. We're always happy to put a set of eyes on your resume. And thank you for mentioning that, Ellie. That is super important. That's one of the things that I hear from employers as I'm helping them develop jobs is, okay, the student looked pretty good, but their resume is full of typos and I can't hang. I'm like, okay, I get that. So yeah, very, very, very important. How has the Elliott School prepared you for the role that you're in now? And what do you wish you had learned in your classes that you haven't yet?
I think the coolest thing for me is when something comes up in work that I learned in class. I know that sounds like obvious, but there's been so many times where I've been like, oh, I totally forgot I learned about that last semester, but now I'm literally doing it. Or like the amount of times I've had to write like a news release, for example, and I'm like, oh, I can look back at all of my saved news releases I made in Eric's classes and kind of go off of those. So that's something for me.
Yeah, for sure, because part of my job was traveling to cities before we actually raced there and promoting the race itself. And I would create a creative brief over that city that I was like promoting. So I knew what exact businesses were the best ones to go to, because Kansas City is a lot different than Vivian, Louisiana, where there's nothing. And so like making a creative brief over those different cities was a lot of fun, because it makes you think more about like, oh, it's like a little town in the middle of nowhere, but they have a lot of potential. So making creative briefs has been a lot of work, but really fun. So
yeah, definitely save your assignments, your templates, and Madeline's classes. Save everything.
Save everything. Yeah, for sure.
I think Elliott School has given me my portfolio. Otherwise, it would be some crappy music videos from high school that would probably not work now. And so I've included in my portfolio, I just have it sectioned off. I have like, here's the graphics I've made. Here's the stories I worked on for writing for the mass audience. Here's videos I've done from intro to multimedia, and like I'll include things and then I'll change things up from that. And I get to use all those projects for what I currently have. I get to wear a different hat every single day. Like I'll be writing a profile, be doing a video, photography, and I can look back on my portfolio and be like, oh, I can add this to it. And so it really helped me get a portfolio, and now I can refine it with actual experience too, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, I agree on that. Projects, they've given me so many projects, so many things to work on. It's so good for me.
Yeah, it definitely taught me how to write too, because I looked at a paper I wrote for writing the mass audience my sophomore year, and I almost threw up. It was so bad. And now I looked at my papers now, or like things I would write for my job, and I was like, I have come so far. So I've been really able to like kind of brag on myself, and be sure to like brag on yourself too, because it might not seem like you might just be really tired and kind of over it, but you grow so much, and I really felt I've grown a lot. So yeah.
Good advice as well. Don't be afraid to, on your resume is one of those places. Now, don't make stuff up that's not true, but it is okay to brag about yourself and think about most of you are doing all sorts of stuff, either through internships or the Sunflower or projects or stuff, in the community that may have very little to do with Wichita State, but is relevant to communication experience. So don't be afraid to put those things down. And even if you're in, a job that's in the service industry or retail or something that, again, may not be directly relevant, if you're promoted, if you're a team leader, if you're a trainer, if you're a mentor for new employees, if you're a shift leader, all those things are super important and look good on resumes. And almost all jobs, you deal with customer service. You deal with people. You deal with keeping multiple balls in the air at the same time. So all of those things translate. Those are the kind of the soft skills that employers are often looking for. Okay, you've all have heard me ramble way too long. So let's open it up to questions from the audience. What do you have? And then we'll see if we have in a minute if we have any questions on the online session. So, questions. All right, Promise. What do you got?
How did you guys respond to and handle when it was kind of discouraging in the process of navigating internships? Or do you ever have moments where you feel like, oh, I'm never going to find one? Or what was that like, and what motivated you, and what strategies did you implement to help you get where you are now?
I'm going to repeat the question for our online audience. So how do you deal with discouragement in the process? How do you deal with those setbacks and challenges? And sometimes when the answer is no, what advice do you have to keep moving forward?
So not necessarily no for me, but I have crippling imposter syndrome. So I know for me, like internships in general, I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to get one because it just sounds terrifying. And I was so scared that I didn't have the experience, but I really just had to sit down and convince myself that is why you're getting the internship, is to gain that experience, and you're going to learn those things and then be able to move up within other internships. So that was where my discouragement came from. So that's kind of what I did. And also like talking to teachers, like Eric was one of the ones who was like, you're going to gain experience from this. Like they're not expecting you to already have it. I think that's one of mine. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to push through the difficult parts where you feel like you're just not getting anything. Because I've been there, places where you feel like I'm not grabbing anything, like especially over the summer. I think what's best for me with discouragement is to just keep trying. Once again, throwing it out into the wind and seeing what sticks. What else about that? I can say from experience, you think it's hard when you don't get anything, but it's also very hard when you come so close because you put in a lot of effort and then it's like, boop. But that prepares you for the next time. And it makes you even better and better and better and better. And then you eventually get it.
Yeah, I would just say look at even just small things that interest you. Like even like I know racing's a big part of my life, but I also really like makeup and cosmetics. So even like smaller hobbies you may be interested in, you never know what you can find out of it. And also like what her answer reminded me is like, just because someone said no, like I always just believe something's always meant for you. Like the universe will grant you something. So don't take it like personally. And yeah.
Yeah, I think going off of that too, I actually did remember a time where I applied for like my dream job and I did not have the experience for it, but I was like, well, I'm just going to do it because it's open. And I got that no, and I just really have used it as motivation ever since. Like, I do need to gain more experience in order to have that dream job, and I need to work on my portfolio. So I think that as well is, although somebody's telling you no, you're going to get experience from your next yes. That's going to get you to that yes. So I think that helps.
I think a tactic that helped me a lot was finding distractions, which isn't probably the healthiest, but as long as you use it to further your skills, since a lot of us have tools to develop what we have with communications, like we have individual projects we're working on or creative pursuits that we can just do. And with journalism, like, it's so easy. You could just walk out and you can ask somebody, hey, do you have something to say? And be like, all right. And then so you can just go from that and really like develop your craft. So then when that opportunity does come along, like, you'll be absolutely ready for it, and they'll be ready for you too.
Yeah. YouTube and pets and working out are wonderful things sometimes too. Sometimes just those distractions. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, other questions? Yes, what do you got?
So with all of your obligations like schoolwork and maintaining social life, how and when did you know you were ready to get an internship?
Good question. The question is, with everything on your plate, school, work, social lives, how did you know when you were ready, when it was time to get an internship?
Mine was, I'm not gonna lie, my job it really took a toll on me. I'm not gonna lie about it, but I'm so grateful for it. And we started in March, and then we ended in September. And I'm in a sorority, full-time student, and it was really, really hard for a while, but I knew I was ready because I couldn't believe that this company even knew my name and that they wanted to hire me, but I took it as a sign that I was ready to go. And I told myself, like, I just knew I'd be so upset with myself if I didn't do it. And even though it was a huge roller coaster, it's one of the greatest experiences I had. I visited 5 new states, 19 new racetracks. It was awesome. So it can be really scary. You got that lump in your throat or your heart feels like it's in your butt and you're like really scared. And it's terrifying. Or I remember I would be driving, or I would ride with another racer, actually, is how I would travel to these races. I'd be driving 9 hours up to Minnesota, and I would just be like, this is happening. And I couldn't believe it. But I knew I was ready, even though, you might not feel like it. You'll know, in your heart to, take that jump forward, because it's worth it, even if it's just a little scary.
I think for me, I always kind of had a goal when it came to college. I was like, oh, I really want to start looking at internships at this time, after my sophomore year, for example, because I felt like I had the most knowledge there. And yeah, same for that. I feel as if being in an internship kind of almost helped with school as well, because I was seeing those things in both places. For sure. But yeah, same with, I just kind of knew, it just felt right. I felt like I had the knowledge I needed to at least get my foot in the door.
I have a very unhealthy work ethic. I let my curiosity overcome it. So I'm like, ooh, that'd be cool if I was that. And so then I work around that kind of, and I'm like, oh, well, I can just sleep a few less hours, or, get rid of this, that, and I'm doing this. And so it's kind of like a monkey bars, just going from one to the other and not being afraid to quit some stuff to pursue new things too.
I think I knew the moment when I was more bored than ever, especially with COVID and stuff, not to bring that up again, but I was getting really, really bored. I just felt like I had not too much going on. And that's what really pushed me. I was like, I need to go do something. I need to put these skills to use.
Other questions? Yes, Amberly.
So do you guys see your internship as a stepping stone to just gain more work experience, or do you see it as somewhere you would like to stay and you're working towards a permanent career?
Yeah, the question is, do you see your current role, and this was a question I was going to ask, so thank you, Amberly, for doing that. Do you see where are you at right now and what's next? Do you see this as, are you hoping to get on full time? Are you looking for something else, and kind of where are you at in your journey and what's next?
When I came to WSU, I decided to come to Wichita State super last second. I was going to go to K-State, and I came here last second, had no idea what I wanted to do. And like Eric said, racing's been a huge part of my life. And I was like, I want to work for NASCAR one day. And I thought that'd be so cool. And then I got this job. And after this year of all that traveling, I do not know how those people do it. Literally from February to November, they're traveling across the country every single weekend, and I'm very grateful for my experience. So I think I'm wanting to stay here for a bit and see how it goes, because the workplace is like a family, and there's already like more and upcoming each and every year. This year was just a huge year with like 10,000 to win races, which has been never done before. And yeah, so I think they have a lot to offer within the next 2 years. So I thought I was going to step forward, but I think I'm going to chill over here. So yeah.
I think for me, it kind of goes in phases. So in my first internship, when I first started, when I was kind of in the middle of it, I was like, oh yeah, I could do this like forever. And then there was a point where I felt I needed to grow more, and I couldn't necessarily get that where I was. And I think where I am now, I'm constantly being challenged. So I could definitely see that being full-time in the future. But yeah, I feel like for me, I just kind of go by how I'm feeling. Like, am I growing? Am I learning more every day? Or do I kind of feel like I'm stuck? Yeah.
Mine was specifically designed to be a stepping stone. And some internships do that. Like, it's just for you to develop your skills, and they help you out with that, and then they push you along, and they give you those networking opportunities. So, and I'm very grateful for it. I have more things down to my portfolio, and it's helped me out a lot, and it will continue to help me out.
Okay. Yeah, Stratcom's very similar. Basically, what'll happen is some people, I mean, they'll stay around. I don't know what's in my future. I'm always open to anything, and I don't want to, put a damper on my future or anything. So, but I don't ever see anything as just a stepping stone. Like, everything's important, and you gotta live it while you're there. You can't just see it as like, oh, I'm just doing this so that I can get to the next thing, because then you're not enjoying the process or learning that much.
Do we have any questions from the online group? None. Okay. Time for one or two more. Yes, in the back.
Have you ever had an internship that, I mean, you got it, but it's not what you thought it was going to be?
The question is, have you ever had an internship that has not turned out how you expected? Maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be.
I mean, mine definitely didn't turn out how I thought it was going to go, but in a good way, because the job description was, well, at first it was a lot of things I didn't really understand, and then I kind of just made it my own, because they even told me, they're like, okay, we're going to experiment with this. We've been looking for someone for a while, so, and then I just kind of turned it to my own thing. It just became a lot more extensive than I thought it was going to be, but it was still a great experience overall, and I was really grateful.
I feel actually the exact same way. I think my first internship, it was for social media, and at my interview, they wanted me to do a screen test. And I was like, what? Like, what is that? And so then from then on out, I was doing like weekly segments on PBS. And I would never expect myself to do that, but it was so fun, and I really loved the experience. So I think you kind of just have to be open to that sometimes, like not really getting what you expected, but in a good way, and like seeing how you can learn from that.
For mine, I was very stressed out as to what it could be, since it was a very open job description. They're like, you're going to do this, this, and this, and this. And I was like, oh, that's a lot. So in that way, once I actually got started doing it and just took it one step at a time, I was like, it's not as bad as it seems on paper. Like, once you actually do it, it's way easier, or like, it's not easier, but it's way more accomplishable than what my mind would like me to believe.
It wasn't that it wasn't like part of the criteria of the job, but I didn't really think I was a good writer until I kind of started doing this. And I was like, I can't really do the writing stuff, but that's what they offered me. And so, I mean, it's been good. It's been a good learning experience. I definitely need to check the AP style book a lot. It's a thing, but you'd be surprised what people miss with spelling on the WSU website. It's a little shocking. They'll misspell Wichita. So what was I saying? Anyhow, I've had all sorts of weird jobs too, where the description is not exactly what you think it's going to be. But yeah, that's just one of the little things.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, so we've covered a lot in the hour we've been here. What is your advice for that student that maybe hasn't pulled the trigger on getting an internship yet? What encouragement would you give them?
My main thing is I know personally that I will not grow if I'm comfortable. So being okay with being uncomfortable and knowing that it's going to be challenging, but you're going to get through it and you're going to be so much better afterwards and you're going to know so much afterwards. So yeah, that's my main thing always, is that you'll never grow if you're just comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say the same thing like I said earlier, like just do it even though it might seem really, really scary. But like Payton said, you just grow so much. And I mean, I had so many moments I'd be driving for like 6 hours and like I would just not be having it. And I would tell myself, this is what you want to do. Like, this is going to help you do so many more amazing things. And it might suck right now because there's always things about, there's things about everyday life that we don't like to do. But like Payton said, it just makes you grow so much more and just more grateful and grow a deeper love for what you do.
One mindset that's really helped me is think that we only have 4 years here for like a general track. And so you want to use that time as much as you can, whether that be like at the end of your college career or at the start, like use as much as you can, because it gets a little bit more difficult out and once you don't have these connections in this network. So use them while you have them.
I feel like my college mantra has been one step at a time, because it's easy to just want to blast through these 4 years and just look to the future. But really what you need to do is just sit there and do what's in front of you and just keep on growing, keep on learning. Never stop, even after college. You can't stop learning.
That's great. Lots of really, really good advice today. I hope you've come away with at least 2 or 3 things that you can do to take action. Couple of quick reminders. Again, we as the faculty are here to help. We love helping you get internships. If you're in the broadcast area, Kevin almost always has some sort of a video opportunity. The same with Jessica, multimedia. Reach out to Madeline and myself, or Lisa Parcell and IMC, Sandy or Jack and Stratcom, Amy, Kevin, Dr. Ian Tennant in journalism, Hannah, our new faculty member. Any of us are happy to help, and please do use us. We're happy to help you succeed and get that next step. Also, don't forget our new jobs page, wichita.edu/ESC jobs. Jessica put that together, and check that, put that on your browser, check that frequently. We will update that. So I'm seeing a lot of jobs coming in just this week. So even though it's busy, crazy finals time, if you're looking for spring or even summer, it's not too early to start looking. There are summer internships out there right now. So check those out. If you haven't yet, again, grab some swag on the way out. The t-shirts are over here. Please make sure you leave with one of those if you want one. Thank you again for being here. It's been really fun to be able to do this in person and also online again, but to have that hybrid component. I know it's the end of the semester. I wish you well with finals and projects and all of that, and work hard for the next few days, and then rest and enjoy. And thank you again for being here. Have a great rest of your day.